Hey guys, welcome back to Untitled Custom. So today I'm sharing with you a Laira Red Lantern Custom statue made from the Sideshow Collectibles X23 statue. Now, this was a lot of fun, but it also was a lot of chopping because of the X23 had these jeans on. So, and then I had to kind of rebuild the feet, the armor, and all that stuff. But we kind of kept some elements there from X23, so it worked out pretty well. I really like the idea of doing more characters like these because these are just types of characters you're never really going to see made, and it's really cool that people can get a character they love, whether they're not in the comic books long, or they were only in one storyline, or whether they're in there for a long time but maybe they were only a Red Lantern for so long. I really don't know her backstory. I probably should have read up on it a little bit more, but it was a lot of fun doing it. Plus the paint work is kind of tricky but also kind of easy because it's basically red and then a purplish blue skin tone and that's it. Because the Red Lanterns, they're basically, or the Yellow Lanterns or Green Lanterns, you just have all those colors and that's pretty much the character. But with her, it was kind of interesting that her hair is red too, so really a lot involved with as far as different shades of red that try to break it up, but also to kind of come up with a nice idea for the base that works for her. So we'll kind of get a little bit closer, kind of go over some stuff. I did do some of this work on my live stream, so if you follow me on like Picardo or if you follow me on YouTube, sometimes I was working on these items. So whenever a client says, yeah, go ahead and work on it during the live stream of Picardo, I usually try to live stream it. Some people decide they don't want to, but this one was pretty cool. So, if you saw in the beginning of the video, basically X23 sort of has this top outfit there, but it gets cut off here, and then you see her belly button, and then it goes to jeans. So what I had to do was sort of chop up, or at least sand up all of the texture that was on there, and then I sort of had to chop all her jeans up down to her knee areas, and I had to really kind of like sand that down and retweak it so it's like bare legs and stuff. And then from there, from her outfit, I sort of kind of expanded it downward. So it's a leotard outfit. So leotard outfits usually, the chest area here is always taunt. It's not actually curved underneath there, and you see the chest hanging down. So that's one thing I always like to make sure whenever I do like a bathing suit or leotard, make sure you do that correctly. Then because she's kind of arching backwards, I gave her a little bit of wrinkles in the back. And for the booty area on her, we talked about it, and he wanted to go more of a conservative look than the thong hanging up between her cheeks here. So he wanted more of a conservative, like basically almost like a leotard bathing suit outfit. So that's kind of where we went there, which is fine. Which is I kind of like that too. You can't always have every single one of them, going up the booty crack. Now for her arms, we left her arms as is. I did tweak up the arms a little bit and I sanded it down, but we kept the arms sort of as X23. Because X23 sort of had these gloves going to each arm. So that pretty much worked out pretty well. These are one of those characters that when you look her up on different comic books, it seems that whatever artist was drawing her at the time, they would draw her differently. So we kind of utilized the sculpt with some of the artists, and we kind of mixed and matched and came up with a good plan. Now for her ring, my friend Meta John basically gave me a big pattern a while back. It was in the video at the beginning, you could see, of etched out in wood. So what I did is I took a little Aves and I kind of used some baby powder and I smushed it into that little piece and I popped it out. I let it cure. I did about like 8 of them. And then I found the best one and I kind of attached it to her finger. But what I did is this little clear fire thing is kind of pointed into her hand. So I drumbled out her hand and I kind of glued that in and then I locked it in place. I thought that would be kind of a nice touch for it because her ring isn't really... It's kind of like the fire elemental or the fire Green Lantern stuff. It depends on what artist was drawing it. Some of it looked fire, some of it looked like blood splatter, some of it looked like different stuff. So the problem is you can only go so far with the customs. Like we can make it look exactly like the comic Go Far, but molding, casting, prepping, sculpting, and doing all that type of stuff adds up. So sometimes we try to find some simpler stuff, and we'll go over that with the base. As far as X23 head, you just rip off the top of the hair and basically sand it up a little bit, and I resculpted all the hair. So I did do the mask. We left her mouth open. We didn't do anything super crazy with the mouth because there was one picture where she's kind of like spitting out blood. So I really couldn't have made that work. Only if her mouth was open more, maybe. But I think this one worked out pretty well. Her hair, I pretty much sculpted the hair my way. You know, I looked at a couple of her styles of hair, and I just came up with this for it. I thought this worked out pretty well. So it was just a little bit of trickiness here and there. Now, onto her boots. Now, the boots were tricky. At the beginning, I asked him, I said, do you want to make the X23 boots as is, or do you want to sculpt it like this specific artwork? And he said, let's go with this artwork. So, what I did is, I sort of created these, I sanded down the boots, and I created, you know, I pretty much rebuilt the legs and the feet and everything, and I kind of did this armor look that the one drawing has. But the problem was the knee pad. So, what happened was, I sculpted this knee pad, or this one, I forget which one I sculpted, and I tried to copy it again, but through a fresh sculpting, and they weren't lining up correctly. So I decided that the best one I like, what I did is I used a push mold, and then what I did is I poured in resin, and I made a copy of it, because this wasn't sort of a built where it's kind of angled for this leg, and it would have to be angled for that leg. These were just kind of straight up perfect. So I was able to make a mold of it, a resin copy, and I pushed it in, and I made pretty much a copy of the knee pad. So that worked out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. And that's painted up in an alclad chrome. That's why it's so shiny. We'll go over to paint 2 in a second, but let me just kind of get onto the base, and we'll kind of finish this out. So I didn't glue these pieces in, because the client said, you know what, leave them loose just in case maybe he doesn't want them displayed, or maybe down the line if he wants to do something different. So this is kind of like that flame stuff you get for your anime toys. It's called SFH figure art stuff. You can get these all over eBay. So we went and picked up the red ones and we added it to the base. This is the cheaper option for creating a base where she's kind of like that flame green Red Lantern type character without sitting there sculpting it and then casting it up and then casting it in clear resin. The client was thinking about that in the beginning, but once we started hashing out the pricing, because last year too, all pricing went up 7%. It's not that I can't do the work, but it's the labor, the materials, and all that stuff. It adds up pretty much now. So resins and mold materials are skyrocketing. So you got to be very careful. So coming up with some simple ideas like this is fine, because you know what? It's a simple base, and we want to focus on the character anyway. Now, this Red Lantern here is actually a 3D print. Me and my friend looked all over for a nice, good 3D, print, but we couldn't really find any. So a lot of people send this as kind of like low-res print stuff with these little square things, but I actually kind of like the way it looks on the item. Now, because the 3D print was sort of, I had to kind of rework this here so these bars didn't break, and I added a magnet and it was hollow. I decided to give it a nice weathering look. I think that would look pretty cool with her, instead of having this perfect lantern. So there's a magnet and it stays on pretty well. Sadly, we have to do this rock thing here because the way X23 was attached, she was attached to a sentinel hand. So the problem is there's a rod here, but we don't know if this rod went up her leg, which I'm hoping it does, and I'm pretty sure it does. But the problem is if I try to rip out that rod and I try to do something different with her feet, it's too much of a risk to break it up and cause issues. So we decided to just use a rock, like she's jumping over a rock and there's some flames and stuff, and it works out pretty well. So that's kind of what we came up with as far as the custom ideas. As far as paintwork goes, fairly straightforward. Bluish, purplish skin. There's a little bit of reds in there that popped out. It worked out pretty well. Her outfit and the gloves and the mask are a red paint with a pearlized translucent Spaztec over it. When I purchased the Spaztec red pearl, I thought it was a red paint, but it's actually a translucent pearl. So what it did is it gave the red paint this silky look, and I actually like the way it came out. This is kind of like a really cool way of doing red paints now that are going to be silk or pearlized. Because usually a lot of pearl reds don't come out right, and if you try to lighten it up or you try to do something, it comes out pink. So this was a good process. Spaztec for the the armor. So it's basically a chrome silver base and then a basic clear red on top of the red. All the chrome. So that worked out pretty well. Her eyes, her teeth, and all that are just kind of like silver eyes to make them look glow. Teeth are kind of an off-white, but they may look white because of everything. And for her symbol for her chest, This is actually a 3D print. I asked my friend to do a couple different prints because I like the way this was kind of like textured and kind of raised. So basically I just dremeled out a circle there and I pushed this in and then I set it up and painted it. It's easier doing it that way. Red hair with a little bit of pearls in there, not much, kind of hinted a little bit here and there. And then that base is pretty much a simple base. I just didn't want to go too crazy with the base, so it's kind of like an off brown rock. I put a little bit of, like, you know, little highlights of kind of like, you know, lava look or kind of breaking up in there and stuff. Nothing too crazy. And that's it. That is it. This was a fun statue. It was definitely a lot of work. Definitely not something that you can just kind of pull off the shelf and kind of just add stuff to it and you got a different character. You definitely had to sand all the legs down, the outfit, break off the hair and tweak stuff. But a really cool item. I had a lot of fun with this. So let me know what you guys think. Do you like it? Do you like the way she came out? Are you, you know, Red Lantern core fan? Do you want to see more characters like that? If you're fans of it, you know, you could go out there and find statues like this and make your own, you know, and have fun with it. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below what you think, and we'll be back with some more videos.